Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's Foundation Friday for over 50s, we are going to be taking a look at the new foundation from Urban Decay. It's their Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation. Retails for $39 for 1 ounce and it comes in 50 shades. This is a vegan, buildable, medium coverage foundation with a real skin matte finish. It's supposed to wear for up to 24 hours, be waterproof, and it's also supposed to minimize the appearance of pores, and it's 100% cruelty free. Now I purchased mine and I also purchased the concealer that comes with it, so we'll be getting a twofer in today's Foundation Friday. I'm going to review both the foundation and the concealer. I actually bought this in 2 different shades because the first one I picked up wasn't quite right for me. But I did get the PR package on this one, and let me tell you, it was the most interesting PR package I have ever gotten. It was an envelope with a brochure in it. So at first I was a little confused. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They're just sending me a brochure to tell me that they are releasing a new foundation, but they didn't send me any foundation. But then I read the copy and I realized that they were trying to actually save the planet a little bit by not sending out 50 shades of foundation to every influencer out there, which is so wasteful, as you guys know. And last summer was the summer of wastefulness for a lot of the foundation makers. I got at least 3 different foundations where they sent me the entire line, and they were a minimum of 40 shades a piece. So that was 120 foundations, except for the 3 that I could use. They weren't a complete waste because I did donate them to charity, so that was good, but I appreciated that Urban Decay is at least, you know, mindful of that. So anyway, they sent a nice brochure that kind of described the color mapping system for this line of foundation, because there are 50 shades, and you know, when there's that many shades it can get a little confusing. So basically there are 9 different intensities of the foundation. So you find your intensity. I thought I would be a 4, which is a light medium, and then here you go with your master tone, and I tend to be neutral, so I went with something in the 4N range. And then under here it has all the undertones, so they have pink, blue, green, neutral, yellow, orange, and red. So that seemed pretty easy. I tend to be like neutral, so I went with originally 41 NN, which, let me bring in the swatches now so you can see what the swatches look like. The 2 shades that I purchased are 41 NN and also 40 CP. So I feel like 41 NN is not really a neutral color, unfortunately. It, on me, looks very much to the warm side, very much to the orange side, which is why when I went back to repurchase another one, I got the cool pink one. I have tried this 2 days previously. Today's the 3rd day. First day I wore 41 NN, so you'll see that one. Then the second day I wore 40 CP, and today I actually mixed the 2 together, and I think that that is kind of the perfect shade for me. Then I did get the Stay Naked concealer, which I already mentioned, and I got this in the shade 40 NN. This comes in a plastic bottle and it does have a pump dispenser. The first 4 ingredients on this are water, dimethicone, isododecaine, and denatured alcohol. As you know, with a foundation, I don't like to see denatured alcohol or SD alcohol. That is the drying kind of alcohol. Too high on the ingredients list. So generally I don't recommend foundations with high SD alcohol content in them to mature women, because most mature women will have skin on the drier side. I, on the other hand, have combo skin. I have a slightly oily T-zone, the rest of my skin is normal, and I tend to be dry around my mouth area. So anyway, the alcohol in here doesn't really bother me, but if you have dry skin, I'm not sure it would be the best for you. So I've worn this 3 days already. I have 2 days of footage to show you, and then I'm wearing it a 4th day today. So for day 1, I put this on over my usual sunscreen combination. I don't use primer on the first day, so I can see how the foundation wears on its own. I used a Clairsonic foundation brush on one side to apply the foundation, and I used my fingers on the other, and again I use shade 41 NN. So this is a lightweight, runny, fluid foundation. It goes on really easily. It glides over the skin. It's got a fairly watery feel to it, but almost like a puffy, cushiony kind of water. It blends seamlessly with the brush, giving a light to medium coverage. With the fingers, it goes on slightly sheerer than with a brush, and it does leave some streaks. Where this was supposed to be a matte foundation, I found the finish a little bit more luminous than I was expecting, but my face had started out looking fairly shiny because of the sunscreen combination that I used. But looking at my pores, the luminous finish is definitely not doing anything to disguise my pores like it was supposed to. Moving on to the Stay Naked Concealer, it comes with a curved doe foot applicator. I applied it directly from the applicator to my under eyes, which I don't normally do, and I ended up putting way too much on. So I patted that in and blotted it with a tissue to remove the excess. It gave pretty good coverage and it looked nice and smooth to start. I set the concealer and I also set my T-zone with IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores HD setting powder, and I much prefer the look of the foundation with the setting powder to reduce the look of my pores and texture. In the time it took me to do the rest of my makeup, the concealer had creased and settled into the wrinkles, and the foundation did too. So I was pretty disappointed that they both settled into wrinkles so quickly. This was only an elapsed time of about 20 minutes, and they were both looking cracked and making my wrinkles look bigger than they need to. All right, so at the 5-hour check-in, it was looking pretty luminous again overall, which gives it a dewy, youthful effect from a distance, but accentuates pores and texture up close. It was mainly still in place and wearing fairly well on most of my face. It was still in my forehead wrinkles from settling earlier, and it was making my upper lip look creased and older. Looking at the concealer at the 5-hour mark, it was breaking up and wearing off at the inner corners, and my under eye wrinkles were looking magnified. I came back to the camera at 11.5 hours. The foundation didn't look awful, but it didn't look great either. It was mainly still in place and wearing fairly well on most of my face, but it was fading a bit with a little bit of redness showing through around my nose and chin area. So for day 2, I put it on with just the Elta MD sunscreen. I used Revlon Colorstay Prep and Protect primer on one side and no primer on the other. I applied it with a damp beauty blender, and I used the new shade that I purchased, 40 CP. The foundation goes on much sheerer with a sponge. I used a pump and a half to do my face, and the coverage was pretty sheer with spots and redness showing through. I used the Stay Naked Concealer again, but primed under my eyes with the Revlon primer on one side and Milk Hydro Blur primer on the other, and I set both eyes with Revlon Candid Powder. All right, I feel like this color is definitely better for me. It's much less orangey. The coverage is a little bit sheerer today, but I am going to leave it that way, so would need a little concealer on like spots like this and my age spot over here that you can see. Little redness showing through in some spots. When I first put this on, it does stay a little bit sticky and tacky for a bit, so I think before I powder it, I'm going to see how long the tackiness lasts. I am going to set my under eyes though, just to help the concealer a little bit. But I'm going to wait to set my T-zone for a bit, and we'll see if this dries and sets. And I don't know if you can see the polka dot pores here, probably not, but if you can, it's not really sitting well on top of this particular primer. I think this side just looks a little bit better, but it is very sheer coverage today with the sponge. I feel like this has dried and set back over the last hour and a half. It probably took a half an hour, I'd say, to set up and dry. And so I think it's looking good. I didn't add any setting powder in my T-zone yet, but I'm feeling like it's getting like a little bit luminous in there just from sitting outside, but I think I can be fine without it. I might set it a little bit later when I go out. So yeah, here it is with the rest of my makeup. I think it looks nice. Okie dokie, 5 hours in with the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation and under eye concealer. The foundation is looking pretty luminous, pretty dewy. It's accentuating pores and texture. It's not making my wrinkles look great. It's definitely settled in my wrinkles up there. It's wearing well. It's still in place really well. I feel like I just need to powder it because I didn't use powder on it before, so definitely a setting powder helps this one. But just wanted to show you up close the luminosity, my upper lip, over here, just my whole face looks shiny. I feel like it's all, you know, texture, 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 texture. Definitely settling in my wrinkles up here. I'm going to go ahead and just set it with setting powder now, and we'll see how it does between now and the 10-hour check-in, if that will help it a bit. Okay, yeah, that looks way better to me. I just don't like, you know, that luminosity. It just makes me only see the texture in my skin. Let's take a look at the under eye concealer. This side I use the Revlon primer, this side I use the Milk. It's less creased than it was yesterday, but both of them are showing wear at the inner corner where it's gotten thin and is kind of wearing off now. Not a great test on the concealer. I'm really not loving the concealer at all. At the 10-hour check-in, I didn't think it looked very good. The primer side, of course, looked worse than the non-primer side, but it was pretty worn off, especially on the primer side. But I gotta say, it was comfortable to wear throughout the day, and it did feel lightweight and non-drying. It wasn't sticky, it wasn't transferring onto everything, so that was pretty good. All right, so for today, I wanted to get that skin-like matte finish out of it, which I hadn't gotten before. I feel like this is one of those foundations that the finish of your skincare comes through the foundation. So if you have kind of shinier skincare, it'll come through and make it into like a shinier, more luminous foundation. So I switched up my sunscreen today to something that sets down a little bit more matte. I use the Make Prem UV Defense Me Fluid SPF 50. I also use the Hourglass Mineral Veil Primer because that tends to be a little bit more of a matte finish. I mixed the two colors together today and I applied it with an IT Cosmetics foundation brush. That brush just didn't apply it right. I don't know what the deal was. If it was the reacting to the sunscreen or the primer or if it was the brush, but oh my gosh, it looked like a hot mess. You see how like polka dotty and patchy it is? I went back in with the Clairsonic brush and I applied another layer because I did want to try to build it up today to see if I could get the coverage on my age spots. And then I did feel like building it up like that, it did look a little cakey, so I went in with just a slightly damp blending sponge and just kind of pounced over to remove any excess. I still felt like the little bit of luminosity was making my pores and texture look accentuated again, so I set my T-zone and the fronts of my cheeks and everything with the Lawless Seal the Deal powder. I used this one today because I am going to be taking the flash photo and I didn't want to get the bounce back from the powder. So as usual, I feel like this looks really good from a distance, but up close, I feel like it does look like a little cakey, especially at full coverage. It's a little like heavy. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels really lightweight and dry and set. Let's look at it up close today. Here it is. I think it looks nice. I thought it looked a little heavy and a little cakey, like right in here, you know? I also gave up on the concealer. Not a big fan of the new concealer. I went back to my normal concealer, which is the Lancome Mackie Complete, so I have that under my eyes and that's staying nice and crease-free and not wearing off already. Anyway, let's do the rest of the test. I took a flash picture. Here's what it looks like with the flash in the darkened room. I think it's definitely giving some kind of a flashback there because I feel like my face looks whiter than the rest of me. There's no bright sunshine out today, but at least it stopped raining, so we can at least do natural light. So here's the Urban Decay Stay Naked Foundation in Natural Light. All right, and here's the foundation in the lovely overhead yellowy kitchen light. Oops, sorry kitty. I think I'm not sure if that's in focus or not. Everybody sit. Sit. Good kitty. Oh, you're laying down? Good puppy. Sit. Good kitty. Oh, good puppy. All right, you guys, and the last test for today was to see if these swatches would really last for 24 hours, and they have. I put these on yesterday afternoon, and now we're going to see if they're waterproof, because that's one of their claims. Go ahead and waterproof this up. This is actually the second time I'm doing this because the first time my camera battery died. So these have been dunked in water twice. And yeah, I would say pretty darn waterproof. All right, you guys, are you ready for the pros and cons? So on the pro side, we have the medium buildable coverage that it comes in 50 shades. It is lightweight and comfortable to wear. It's long wearing on its own. On the con side are that it settles right into your wrinkles right away. It didn't minimize my pores. It gets shinier and shinier throughout the day. I kind of was super shiny on one day. Today I'm feeling like I'm going to be less shiny just because of the setup I did before and the setting powder that I used. But it does have that SD alcohol, which is not great for people with drier skin. It's not the easiest to apply. You know, I tried it with a couple of different brushes, a sponge, my fingers. There was really only one brush that it went on well with. One primer made it set up weird or not set up and get in my pores. So it's a little finicky as far as how it wants to go on your skin, what it's going to work well with, what it's going to look good with. But today I happen to have a good day with it, so I'm liking it today. Yeah, so overall this is one that I like the look of it from a distance, and I don't love how it looks up close. I always try to think of who I can recommend this for, who it might work for. I can't really come up with anyone because I was thinking, okay, if you have less texture than me, then it might work for you because it really didn't do anything to minimize my texture, and you might like that luminosity that I had with it. But that is mainly people with dry skin, and where it has the SD alcohol, I can't really recommend it for people with dry skin. It's definitely too luminous and gets too shiny throughout the day for people with oily skin to like it. Maybe just normal skin people might like it. I don't know. Whenever I don't love a foundation, I like to steer you to the things that I do love. Unfortunately, two of my faves have been discontinued, hopefully temporarily, and there will be something new that is the same thing that's coming soon from Chanel, and I think there's already something new from CYO, not from CYO, but from Boots that replaces the CYO. But what is still available are Estee Lauder Double Wear. This is one of my favorite Holy Grail foundations. I love this guy, so that's always a good one to try. Works really well on mature skin, doesn't settle in wrinkles. Same can be said for the L'Oreal True Match. This one is awesome. This is the one that works really well with that Revlon primer that I used. This top is just a 1 ounce top from another foundation, but I'll put a link to my Amazon shop in the information box below the video where you can go and find a little pump for your foundation. And then the other foundation that I like a lot is the IT Bye Bye foundation. And this one's great. It's got an all mineral SPF 50. It's really great for using during the summertime. But if you want to see where the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation ranks compared to all the foundations that I've tested, you can check that out over on my blog. I have a running list of all the foundations. I'll put a link to that in the information box below the video. That also has links to all the reviews. So if you're looking for a specific foundation, that's a great place to start. And I guess that wraps it up for today. So I hope you found the video helpful and informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell. I noticed there was a new thing called join. I don't know what that is, but I guess hit that too, because why not join me? And so, you know, I always thank you for your time. Really appreciate your watching. So have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.